stop your foreign workers from becoming Canadianized. They say some employers find that over time the workers increase their demands on the employers, and to get around the problem, the employers can remind foreign workers they can be sent home. What does that show you?
Well, it shows that the fundamental program is broken. I know that we have a moratorium on the restaurant and food industry. I believe we need a moratorium on the low-skilled category, and then we need an independent audit. I'm getting tired of the minister and the Conservative colleagues saying, we do monitor the program, we're doing what we can. The only time we've had names appear on the so-called blacklist is when a CBC, and I'm going to point specifically to CBC, broke the story a few weeks ago. Then we had 3 employers put on the blacklist, and today we've heard this other employer, the ones who are being investigated, are now on the blacklist as well. So what we've really got to wonder at is, this government does not know how the LMO processes are working. They seem to be handed out willy-nilly. And once they're handed out, they are not tracking how workers are treated. And even when workers have reported to the CBS, reported to the RCMP, and they were helped to find another LMO, I mean, that means that there was a lot of foundation there, a lot of evidence there. And when I read some of that, I kept thinking, why did it then take another story breaking in the media for the minister to stand up in the House and say, well, we're on top of this situation. You can only feign surprise and shock and dismay so many times.
All right, well, let's bring in John McCallum. I mean, I know you proposed some reforms, but you know, this is a program that all parties say they support, and then they start taking shots at the government. What do you think the government's got to do here?
We always have supported it, managed in a reasonable way. There are certain sectors that absolutely do need temporary foreign workers. What we don't support is the explosion of temporary foreign workers from about 100,000 to 215,000 since 2005, to the point where there are almost as many temporary foreign workers coming into Canada as there are permanent immigrants. So what we have is a rising pool of exploitable, as you've just pointed out, temporary immigrants becoming more and more important relative to traditional immigrants who build our nation, who come in with their families and become
Why do you
citizens.
say they're exploitable? I know we've reported on that.
You've just said it yourself.
No, I get that, but how would you fix that?
We put forward a plan. We would work with provinces, which the Conservatives aren't very good at, because they are the ones that monitor the rules, make sure the employers are obeying the rules. We would obviously take action against direct exploitation, but we have a plan that we would bring down gradually over the years the number of temporary foreign workers. We would offer permanent resident pathway to more of them. We would tighten the rules back to how they used to be. We would monitor to make sure the rules are obeyed, and we would return to a system where we have a modest-sized temporary foreign worker program, and we would focus on the permanent immigrants who have built this country, instead of guest workers who, as you have said, are exploitable. We need some, but we don't need the numbers to explode as they have under the Conservative government.
Mr. Armstrong, you know, we keep talking about this issue. There's a lot of issues here. There's stories now about exploitation and vulnerability of temporary foreign workers. There's stories and allegations that some companies have abused their LMOs, getting temporary foreign workers for low-skilled jobs, and Canadians being displaced. There seems to be almost every week more and more stories about this. Will the government commit, for example, as a specific, to stopping the temporary foreign worker program for low-skilled work? How about that?
Well, we're going to take some steps to make sure that the program works efficiently and it works in the best interest of all Canadians, making sure that Canadians have first crack at the jobs. The minister said that in the House today. And we have the other parties who say they want to lower the number of temporary foreign workers, but they're the first ones to come when it happens in their ridings and ask, because their employers are pressuring them. They try to represent their employers by asking the minister to improve LMOs, in some cases maybe even overturn LMOs, which the bureaucrats in Service Canada have rejected. So
well,
that does happen.
government's position, but I mean, you say you're going to toughen it. I mean, do you think we need over 320,000 temporary foreign workers? Do you think we need temporary foreign workers for low-skilled labor in Canada?
Well, this program is not based on a quota or a number. It's based on it's driven by demand. It's demand of where people cannot find qualified employees to do the job that are Canadian.
All the rules.
Well, you've tightened the rules, John. We've tightened the rules several times.
You loosened the rules over 5 years, then you hit a crisis,
John.
and you started to tighten
That's false. We make sure that we provide the opportunity for an employer to have access to a temporary foreign worker when no Canadian is available for that job. And that is not going to be a quota-driven system. It is the system that is driven by demand. But we are going to make changes to make sure that when we abuse a program, that they will be held accountable by the system.
Only the government can give out LMOs. They can't keep blaming employers. They can't keep blaming other people. They give out the LMOs, and what kind of oversight exists when hundreds of LMOs, thousands I would say,
well, Ginny
are
Sims, to be
given
fair,
out
when you're asking for an LMO, how often do you go back and check if the company that asked you to do that is actually doing the right thing?
I have never asked for an LMO, and even before I wrote to the minister, I actually phoned to make sure that the LMOs they had were current when I asked for process questions.
And do you follow up on the temporary foreign workers that you're requesting, how those companies are treating them? To be fair,
I can say that I have been raising concerns about this issue with the minister, and the two places, I don't think I've ever had written a letter where the temporary foreign worker has appeared, and I will also tell you this, opposition cannot get LMOs. We don't have the data. I think the problem is even this government only has Kijiji data that isn't really authentic, and they don't know what they're doing.
Unfortunately, I got to leave it there today. Scott Armstrong, Ginny Simpson, and John McCallum.